German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has warned that Germany is facing its most challenging times in recent history, with major reforms required to fund the country's welfare system. Merz, who is facing his lowest approval rating since taking office, made the comments during a debate over next year's draft budget. That budget proposal includes a drastic spending boost, and Germany's borrowing is set to triple compared to 2024. The biggest budget increase is in defense spending. The issue of borrowing limits is highly charged in Germany and led to the collapse of the previous governing coalition. Let's listen in to what the German Chancellor had to say.
It must be clear to us as a country, we're in one of the most challenging phases of our recent history. But it's not just our country. The entire Western community of values is facing perhaps its greatest test to date. And this has very immediate consequences for our economy. For an economy that is geared towards global markets, that relies on an open and rules-based world order in order to fully leverage its competitive advantages. Against this backdrop, I made it clear a week ago that I am firmly convinced foreign and domestic policy can no longer be separated.
We're going to bring in our chief political correspondent, Nina Haase, who is following this story for us at the German Parliament. Nina, what else have you heard from the German Chancellor?
Well, the German government is taking on record debt over the next couple of years. So Friedrich Merz, of course, had to lay out his priorities for the German government and where it wants to spend this money. And he said, essentially, the key thing is to get economic growth up and running again. Germany hasn't seen any considerable economic growth for 3 years now. They also want to invest a lot in all those areas that have been neglected for decades. They do admit that, even though for most of the time, one or both of those coalition partners were in power themselves. So boost investment in infrastructure and also translate economic growth into combat power and defense capabilities because of this changing environment. But of course, here's where it's tricky. Debt is rising, so of course interest payment on those debt payments is also rising, and that's eating away at an already strained annual budget. And this is something where both coalition partners have different ideas about where to stimulate growth again, how to reform the welfare state, and communication is going to be key because, of course, it's very hard to sell to Germans that, yes, we're taking on record debt, so in theory the money should be there, but at the same time cuts will have to be made.
We understand that foreign policy issues are also on the agenda today. Tell us more.
That's correct. The budget for the Foreign Ministry and the Defense Ministry are also on the agenda today for next year. And we all know that the sky is the limit for defense spending at the moment. And Friedrich Merz, we heard him there say again that foreign policy issues, domestic policy issues cannot be separated from each other anymore at a time when the world is changing so fast, when Germany's economic model is being challenged so much. And just a sign that illustrates just how important Friedrich Merz thinks this debate is about where the government is spending its money is that he's not in New York mingling with other world leaders at the United Nations. He's here, and he thinks he has to be here because he has been criticized for focusing too much on foreign policy issues. His ratings are very low. Only 1 in 3 Germans are currently saying that they do agree with how he's doing his job.
How stable is this coalition, given the fact that the last one collapsed over budget issues?
Well, they went into the summer break of the German parliament essentially with their fists in their pockets over an internal row that they had. And they've since tried to smoothen out the picture, and they're trying to have closed-door meetings all the time. Next week, we'll see another one. But of course, they've got the far-right AfD breathing down their necks.
Many thanks, as always, DW Chief Political Correspondent Nina Haase.